Welcome back, everybody, to the Daily Racing Show here at RacePlazaMedia. My name is Milan.
My name is Pia.
And today we'll be talking about the Formula One Barcelona race.
Yes, the Spanish Grand Prix. Play the intro.
All right. So you did watch qualifying. I kind of partially watched. I was playing.
Yeah, you were listening in.
I was kind of more
listening. Yes. And I think the big surprise, of course, a big positive surprise was that Lando ended up taking pole position during qualifying, which was really, really nice to see. Other than that, there weren't too many big surprises, I would say, during qualifying itself. I mean, we've been noticing not a demise, but like Aston Martin has been not doing as well.
They've been really struggling.
Yeah.
I feel like, compared to their performance before. I mean, I'm really always measuring based on Alonso's performance more.
Oh, for sure.
I think most people are, but even like we didn't really see Alonso do a lot. He wasn't really on on camera a lot this weekend. To be fair, because there was some good fighting in the front.
Yes.
But
so let's might as well just go into the race.
Yeah.
So because the big thing about qualifying was Lando got pole, which was really surprising, very positive. And then of course we knew he had a fight in him because last week he was like, I could have won, and then so he knows he's really, really close. So and that was, I feel like, the theme for today as well. He wanted to, of course, win the race. So that's what, of course, the mindset he had going into it.
Yes, and then I do also want to say, so then we had Lando, Verstappen, Hamilton. Was really, really nice to see that he qualified in P3.
Yes.
Then there was Russell, and then it was Leclerc and Sainz.
Yes.
And then everyone besides Albon started on the softs. Albon, who started in last place, I think, or I don't know,
it was further back.
Very, very far back, unfortunately, for the Williams. He was the only one who started on a medium, but everyone else started on a soft.
Yes.
And in the beginning of the race, it was quite hot. And there was a lot of, they were calculating or expecting a lot of tire deg.
Yeah, high tire degradation. They were expecting at least a 2-stop race, potentially 3, depending on how things happen. And I also wanted to, before we get into it more, we've talked about it while we were watching the race, what a great addition Ruth is.
Oh yes, she's amazing.
Yeah, she's one of the, she used to be a strategist. Now this season she joined a couple of races in. I think this is now her second or third race that she's been on.
Great addition.
And she's such a fantastic addition. Like, I love when they add her into the commentary, they ask her questions about strategy, and she gives such great input and things that I also wonder about. Like, oh, what does this mean, the tire degradation exactly? And she tells you exactly to like the hundredths or tenths of a second, like what impact it has and what the different strategies people are thinking about, the different options they have without making it too difficult. She makes it very accessible, which I absolutely love.
And it was also really interesting. Like, she called some things. So she said that the hard compound is really, really difficult for this track because there's a lot of sliding around. And with this, I think if I remember this correctly, with this track also, sometimes if the tire is a little bit older, that's when it starts getting better for you. And she said that, and then literally like a half a second later, you hear Russell on the radio saying that because they switched him in his after his second pit stop, they put him on the hards, and he was complaining how he's sliding all around.
Yes.
And I think at the end you could really tell that, especially people who are fighting for the front, everyone who got the hard compound struggled.
Yeah, it was really Russell and Sainz.
Yeah.
Those were the two that had it, and they were definitely struggling. I mean, they were talking about how slippery it is because of
and
the
you
lack
saw them
of
sliding
grip.
around.
Oh, yes, absolutely. So yeah, but yeah, it was just wanted to point that out. What a great addition she is. We personally watch it usually on F1 TV where she commentates. We also love it when DC David Coulthard is part of the team, because it's always nice to have insight from people who've actually worked in F1, who've been on the grid, who have more on real life, real world experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, love having both of them. but back to the race.
Yes. So the start, actually, Russell in fourth place had the
Yes.
most amazing start out of everyone. He ended up going from fourth all the way to first,
Yes.
going into a turn one.
Yeah, it was absolutely beautiful because I feel like Lando and Verstappen, they were busy with themselves.
Correct.
And then Russell was behind them for a second, but then I think he saw the window, so he just took it. And it was so nice to see. I mean, I know we sometimes talk a little bit of smack about George, but I mean, it was
It was just really well executed,
Yeah.
and it was nice to see him, just really do well.
Yes.
I will say, then like Hamilton had a really bad start, which was very, very unfortunate. He ended up actually getting past,
Excuse me.
by the two Ferraris going into turn one,
Yes.
but however by turn three, because the first corner is technically like a chicane.
Yes.
And then, or the first two turns, and then going into that right-hander, he was able to get back his position. However, he did lose out, of course, to Russell, who
Yes.
was in P1 at the time. And then, however, pretty quickly, Verstappen was able to pass him. He was able to make that move before lap one was actually already completed.
Yes, exactly.
I will say I'm not that surprised because the Mercedes, which is very, very exciting, is doing much better.
Yes.
Their new upgrades, they're finally understanding the car, I think, much better. However, they're still behind.
Yes, but it was good to see, and we could also hear the radio message from Max's engineer GP, and he was also saying like you have to make the move now to be able to create space between you and whoever will be behind you, whether it be George or Lando or Hamilton, of course. But so it was also, that was interesting to hear. I mean, maybe we're interpreting too much into it, but it seemed like a very strong suggestion
Well, also
for
because
him to make that move.
they were all on the soft, so you have a shorter window
Yeah.
before the tire just like is not really usable for like properly pushing.
Well, and also because the track is so hot, and then if you're behind a car in dirty air, that also helps, or not helps, but it hurts your tire and the tire temperature. So it makes a lot of sense. But we've never heard GP so almost not forceful, but like giving such an adamant suggestion to Max to be like, you have to make the move now. And I mean, yes, spoiler alert, Max won the race, but it wasn't by a lot. Not as much as we're
2.2 seconds.
Yes. So, I mean, 2.2 seconds, not bad. I know Lando really wanted the win, and he was very upset at the end.
I think he could have went for the win.
Yes.
He said that his start really messed up his race, and I partially agree with this because he ended up getting stuck behind Russell for a little bit. That wasted a lot of time,
Yes.
and then Verstappen was able to drive out quite a gap, especially going into the first pit. However, Lando and Leclerc were the two people who decided to extend their stint, and
Yes.
they did essentially from the front pack, they did the longest stint on the soft tire, which I think, so they actually, Lando's pit, or his engineer gave him the option, hey, do you want to stay out or do you want to come in? And he decided to stay out. However, by staying out, he ended up losing a lot of time because the tire was not where it needed to be anymore, and he wasn't as lapping as fast as everyone else who had at that point then switched to the medium.
Yeah.
Everyone else, I'm saying all the people in the front, because there were some people in the back. I think Valtteri did soft, and then he did hards.
Yes.
I think, but I'm talking specifically about the front right now.
Yes, agreed. So yeah, I think definitely that hurt him a little bit. Later on, he was asked for some more input about strategy, but then he kind of backtracked a little bit at some point.
I think it's also this thing is like, listen, mate, I'm already pushing.
Oh, of
you know,
course.
and now I'm trying to calculate whether or not Emma is like, please just make the decision for me. Maybe he also had in mind that his original decision wasn't maybe the way to go. However, that McLaren is fast.
Yeah, especially once he had clean air ahead of him. So once he had passed George, and there was nobody in front of him because there was this 8-second gap, I believe, at that point between him and Max.
So this is later in the race. This is the last stint.
Yes.
So I will say it also helped that Norris had the quote unquote youngest tires.
Yes.
Because he pitted the first time around late. His second pit stop was also a little bit later. So I think his tires were a few laps younger, which does make a huge difference. And then, however, literally in the like last 10, 15 laps, he really started pushing.
Yeah, and Max also started getting radio messages yet again. Hey, you got to push all the way because Lando is coming.
And he's not saving any tires. He's giving it all. Yes. So in the end, there was still a 2-second difference, 2.2 seconds.
Yes.
But it is encouraging to see how fast a McLaren is.
Yes, it's very exciting.
That being said, before we talk about the Mercedes in just a second, I will say it is a little disappointing to see the Ferraris. I'm upset that we had a Ferrari 5 and 6th place, so Charles ended in 5th, and Sainz ended in 6th, so kind of how they started.
Yeah, but I'm also a little bit disappointed in their like a little bit of infighting that they have.
But before we get to that,
okay.
I just wanted to say I'm a little disappointed that the car is not doing better. I think I read something that Carlos said that especially in the fast corners, there's a lot of bumping, and that is like I want them to do better. You know, yes, we had a Ferrari. We had 2 Ferrari wins this year, but one of them is Monaco. So that is kind of like if you start in P1, you probably finish in P1.
Unless you make some stupid mistake.
Or your team makes a stupid mistake, right? But it is a little bit disheartening because last weekend it was already last race it wasn't where they needed to be. So I'm hoping maybe their upgrades are not there yet, and everyone else has brought their upgrades yet. But we have now 2 more races back to back.
Yes, we have Spielberg coming up this weekend.
Yes.
And then we have Silverstone the following weekend. So it's going to be fun.
Yes, but I'm hoping the Ferraris are able to pull themselves together because I want Hamilton to transition into a good car.
Yes, seriously.
He's already been in a shitbox for the last 3 years, you know?
That's the goal. But yeah, I mean, going back to what I was saying, like, the infighting there was a little bit annoying right at the beginning of the race.
Yes.
And then Carlos complains over the radio when him and Hamilton had an incident.
It wasn't even an incident. It was hard racing. I think both of them. I think if Carlos complains about what Hamilton did, then he should take some reflection of what he did to Charles.
Yeah.
Because he didn't, in my opinion, he didn't leave Charles really any space on the right side. And then he ended up going also off and he took they call it the escape route it's in turn 2. Essentially, if you can't make it, there's like a little pathway that you can take to rejoin.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people who don't make the chicane sometimes. Yeah, that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
But it was a little frustrating how complainy he was on the radio. It's like, mate, just let it go and race, you know?
I mean,
Hamilton,
I get it. It's your home race and you want to do well.
I get
but
that.
It's not everybody else's fault. And it was clean racing. It was not like no major incidents. We didn't have a single yellow card. We had, I think Albon was
no yellow card and no yellow flag. We've been watching a lot of...
We've been watching a lot of soccer too. So, I mean, the only really person who went off track was Albon at one point.
Yes.
Where he was also concerned about he was so confused as to what had happened in that moment. But it was really the only time somebody went into like deep gravel.
Yeah.
I mean, it was at the beginning, I think opening lap, Alonso maybe went off or like one of the earlier laps.
Sainz went to the left to escape and one other driver.
Yeah, nothing major. So it was a nice
which was
race.
Nice.
Yeah, and we had a lot of beautiful overtaking too. And then Alpine, both of them scored this time yet
9
again,
and 10,
which is nice. Unfortunately, Hülkenberg and Magnussen both got penalties. Magnussen for a false start, Hülkenberg for speeding in the pit lanes.
Yuki also got a speeding in the pit lanes
and
penalty.
Yuki was also, I don't know what happened. He ended up in 19.
To be honest, the broadcast really didn't cover at all what was happening behind, I would say, 5th place or 6th place.
Yeah, I mean, they barely also showed Piastri and Perez because they were going back and forth a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, for majority of the race, we saw only the front people.
It's also interesting, only the top 11 actually finished 66 laps and all the other ones did 65 laps.
Oh, yeah. I mean, because we did have a bunch of overtaking then at some point. We also had 0 DNFs. Everybody finished the race.
Which is nice.
Which was really nice. It was not the most eventful race, I would say, not the most eventful race we've had this season, but it was still entertaining because there's constantly battles happening.
Yes, I will say this. before I actually say that, I want to talk about the Mercedes real quick. It is very, very exciting to
Yes.
see Hamilton back on the podium. Well deserved. He did really, really well this weekend. I know that some people are probably saying, like, why was Russell on a different strategy than Hamilton, which I thought was also odd choice. However, because they were offsetting their pit stops anyways, I think even if Hamilton and Russell would have had the same strategy, Hamilton would have had the newer tire at the end. So,
Yeah.
and I think in general he had better pace anyway, so he would have probably been able to take him. But I thought it was an interesting call to put Russell on the hards. But Hamilton already said in his post-race interview that he
hard
always
was never an option. for
hard
him.
was never on for him. He always said he was going to do soft, medium, soft. I thought maybe they would do also, I don't know if they had some available, but maybe do a soft, medium, medium. But towards the end of the race, also tire degradation went down because the track had cooled down a little bit. The weather in general was a little bit cooler because it was a little bit overcast.
It was like overcast. They were saying maybe rain, but maybe not during the actual race. So yeah.
But it was really, really exciting to see the Mercedes in the front again.
Yes.
They were, however, let's be real, they were 15 seconds to the second place off and 17.7 to Verstappen. So that's still a huge gap. That's almost a pit stop.
Yeah, I mean, I would also say I feel like it's you could see that they didn't quite have the pace yet compared to the McLaren, especially when they were battling with Norris and stuff like that. So there's still some space to improve, and I mean Hamilton has been saying it. He said it today as well. But I mean, it's nice to see that they're improving and they're finally back.
Because we're still not even halfway through the season.
No, which is
still
crazy.
Not halfway through. We're gonna be halfway through the season after Silverstone. I think.
Yes, I
because
think,
then that's the 12th race. I think, right? Is this 10?
This was 10, I
think.
So
then 11, 12,
So that will be nice to see. But yeah, I'm excited to go into next weekend. Spielberg is always a fun track.
I love Spielberg. It's such a fast track. I think it will probably be very beneficial for the Red Bull because it's such a fast track.
And I mean, it's always covered in the orange fog. So.
Yeah. But I am also really interesting that Kimi Antonelli will be doing his testing in the W21 or the 2021 car. I don't know exactly which Mercedes that is. He will be testing in the last championship car of Mercedes. And it will be interesting to see how it goes.
Yeah.
So, best of luck to him. And I'm very, very excited.
Yes. And we are planning on doing a live stream next weekend.
Yes.
Looks like we will be live streaming the Spielberg race. So it will be very early. But we think it's worth it. I mean, it's going to be a fun race anyways.
Yes, I will say the last thing I want to say is, like, I know everyone's talking about, and I've been talking about what a wonderful season this has been. And there's so much fighting and stuff like that. And there is. Yeah. But there has been 10 races.
Yes.
And and Verstappen has won 7 of them.
Yes.
So it's not that different.
No, of course. But
I
I
mean,
the
on-field battling, and there's more pressure on the Red Bulls. It's not that big of a gap. So I agree to that. But I want to push. I would love to see another Norris win. I would love to see Hamilton on the top step.
Yes.
Love to see Charles maybe again. I don't know.
Yes.
I mean, I don't even know what Perez is doing. He would also deserve to be on the top step just for his confidence. Maybe his home race.
Yeah.
Come on. Mexico was last year a mess for him.
Oh, I know. That's so true. But also, before we end the video, we're less than halfway through the season, and this one over there already won bingo. I don't think we've officially announced it, but if you were on Milan's bingo board, Milan is the official bingo board winner unexpectedly. But it already happened halfway through the season, so we'll see if we'll do something else.
I had the more difficult one.
Clearly.
Oops. All right, guys, we ran out of space for whatever freaking reason. But yes, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Let us know in the comments what you guys thought about the race or any other racing that you watched.
Yes.
As always, of course, like and subscribe. And we will be seeing you guys here tomorrow, the Daily Racing Show, talking about
the F1 Academy races from this weekend at the Spanish Grand Prix. So tune in.
Bye-bye.
Bye.